Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Granta srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. About Mr. Damodar Kumar. Oh, okay. He hasn't. Oh, okay. He's still sick, huh? 4:21:12. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, titled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 21, Instructions by Maharaj Prithu, Text 12. Sarvatrak Ksalitadesha Saptadvipaika Dandadrik Anyatra Brahmana Kulad Anyatra Chutagotrataha Sarvatra Ksalitadesha Saptadvipaikadandadrik Anyatra Brahmana Kulad Anyatra Chutagotrataha Sarvatraskalita Saptadvipaikadandadrik Anyatra Brahmana Kulad Anyatra Chutagotrataha. Please chant. Word by word translation. Sarvatra, everywhere. Askalita, irrevocable. Adeshaha, order. Saptadvipa, 7 islands. Eka, 1. Dandadrik, the ruler who holds the scepter. Anyatra, except. Brahmana Kulat, Brahmanas and saintly persons. Anyatra, except. Achyuta Gotraha, descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vaishnavas. Translation. Maharaj Prithu was an unrivaled king and possessed this, is it scepter or scepter? Scepter. Scepter for ruling all the 7 islands on the surface of the globe. No one could disobey his irrevocable orders but the saintly persons, the Brahmins and the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vaishnavas. Interesting. Because no one could disobey his irrevocable orders but the saintly persons, the Brahmins and the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vaishnavas. Purport. Saptadvip refers to the 7 great islands or continents on the surface of the globe. 1. Asia, 2. Europe, 3. Africa, 4. North America, 5. South America, 6. Australia, and 7. Oceania. In the modern age, people are under the impression that during the Vedic period or the prehistoric ages, America and many other parts of the world had not been discovered, but that is not a fact. Prithu Maharaj ruled over the world many thousands of years before the so-called prehistoric age, and it is clearly mentioned here that in those days not only were all the different parts of the world known, but they were ruled by one king, Maharaj Prithu. The country where Prithu Maharaj resided must have been India, because it is stated in the 11th verse of this chapter that he lived in the tract of land between the rivers Ganges and Yamuna. This tract of land, which is called Brahmavarta, consists of what is known in the modern age as portions of Punjab in northern India. It is clear that the kings of India once ruled all of the world, and that their culture was Vedic. The word Askalita indicates that orders by the king could not be disobeyed by anyone in the entire world. Such orders, however, were never issued to control saintly persons or the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. The Supreme Lord is known as Achyuta, and Lord Krishna is addressed as such by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Senayor ubayor madhye ratam stapaya me chuta. Achyuta refers to one who does not fall, because he is never influenced by the modes of material nature. When a living entity falls down to the material world from his original position, he becomes Chuta, which means that he forgets his relationship with Achyuta. Actually, every living entity is a part and parcel or a son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When influenced by the by the modes of material nature, a living entity forgets this relationship and thinks in terms of different species of life. But when he again comes to his original consciousness, he does not observe such bodily designations. This is indicated in Bhagavad Gita 5.8 by the words Pandita Samadarshanaha. Material designations create differentiation in terms of caste, color, creed, nationality, etc. Different gotras or family designations are distinctions in terms of the material body, but when one comes to Krishna consciousness, he immediately becomes one of the Achyuta Gotra, or descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus becomes transcendental to all considerations of caste, creed, color, and nationality. Prithimarj had no control over the Brahmana Kula, which refers to the learned scholars in Vedic knowledge, nor over the Vaishnavas, who are above the considerations of Vedic knowledge. It is therefore said, Arche Vishnav Shila Dir Gurushu Naramatir Vaishnave Jati Budhir Vishnor Va Vaishnavanam Kalimala Matane Padatirtam Budhi Shri Vishnor Nami Mantre Sakala Kalushu He Shabda Samanya Budhir Vishnau Sarveshvareshe Taritara Samadir Yasyava Narikisa. One who thinks the deity in the temple to be made of wood or stone, who thinks of the spiritual master in the disciplic succession as an ordinary man, who thinks the Vaishnava and the Achyuta Gotra to belong to a certain caste or creed, or who thinks of Charnamrita or Ganges water as ordinary waters taken to be a resident of hell. Padma Purana. From the facts presented in this verse, it appears that people in general should be controlled by a king until they come to the platform of Vaishnavas and Brahmins, who are not under the control of anyone. A Brahmin refers to one who knows Brahman, or the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth, and a Vaishnava is one who serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ganativarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kadidavachalam Pangam Langai Girim Yakripatamaham Bande Shri Gurun Diditaranam Vanshaka Pribhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So what happened to Dravida Group? Oh yeah. That's why you should try to avoid management by all means, so you don't have to be called away from direct hearing and chanting. Of course, somebody needs to do it, but it's really difficult. So, yeah, Saptadweep, the great islands, and as Srila Prabhupada's mentioned here in the purport, that in modern age people are under the impression that in Vedic times, that prehistoric ages, that America and many other parts of the world have not been discovered, and Prabhupada said, but that's not a fact. and that Maharaj ruled over the whole world many thousands before the so-called prehistoric age, and it's clearly mentioned here that in those days not only were all the different parts of the world known, but they were ruled by one king. So, and Prabhupada's saying that apparently Maharaj Prithu lived in the India region, because it said in the previous verse that he was situated between the river Ganges and Yamuna, so Brahmavarta. And that Vedic culture was spread throughout the world. And there's Devamrita Swami wrote a book, His Holiness Devamrita Swami. I never read it, but I know of it. There's so many books I haven't read. And it's, what is it? Searching for Vedic India, produced by the BBT, published by the BBT. And there, Maharaj goes all over the world. I mean, I looked at it a little bit, but he goes all over the world, and through archaeological finds and in different ways, with that book, he's trying to establish that Vedic culture was spread throughout the world. And of course, Dhruta Karma Prabhu, I believe he does something like that, and I'm sure there's a few other devotees who do something like that. And sometimes that really, that type of research really inspires devotees. They really get into it. Whereas some devotees, they don't. Not that they could care less, but in some ways they could care less. Because, they have other interests. But it is there that some devotees are interested in that and have done some research. So if you're interested, there are some books out there, Searching for Vedic India and other books. You could start with that one. It's not super big, but, has some substantial research there. And it says that the saintly persons were not controlled by the king. And someone would say, oh, well, hey, it sounds pretty good. Maybe I should become a saintly person. Maybe I should become a Brahmin. Maybe I should become a devotee. Then I don't have to be controlled by anybody. But the idea is that because the saintly persons are self-controlled, because the saintly persons have developed their intelligence, because the saintly persons have developed their Krishna consciousness, they don't need any undue, you could say, or severe kind of supervision, you could say. Just like, in Vedic culture, the Shudras, they were specifically looked after by the higher caste, and they weren't really given much freedom. In the sense that with that freedom, they would do so many foolish things. So they were there, and they would help out with practical, even manual type of things for one particular family, for example, or a king, or so on. And whoever was supporting them, they would support them just like a family member, just like it wasn't like a slave type of thing, but it was they're like a family member. But still, nonetheless, they weren't really given much freedom. It's not like giving a bunch of money. Just like nowadays, right? You get a bunch of these unintelligent people. You give them freedom, and they do a bunch of just terrible things. Give them a bunch of money, and what do? I don't know. They buy a bunch of alcohol, buy a bunch of drugs. They kill themselves gradually by such activities, or not gradually, quickly. Suicide. They may do so many things that are just foolish, because they don't know how to use the energy of Krishna. Whereas saintly persons, or Brahmins, or Vaishnavas, they know how to use things. They don't need any severe supervision to make sure they're doing something right. It's not that you always have to check on them. Oh, are you doing something right? Are you doing something right? Are you doing something right? That's how you know you're a Brahmin or not. People don't have to check on you always. Are you doing something right? Are you doing something right? because naturally somebody who's situated in the mode of goodness, they will want to do the thing that is right, and that'll be their whole goal. They'll be striving to do the right thing, always. And here it says, Achyuta, Lord Krishna is addressed by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Achyuta refers to one who does not fall down because he's never influenced by the modes of material nature. And then when the entity falls down, they call it Achyuta. He forgets his relationship with Krishna. So that's the point. We want to come to the platform where we don't fall down. And falling down can mean different things to different people. I mean, you lose your cool, you lose your temper. That's a fall down. You lose your patience. It's a fall down. And of course, there's more gross fall downs, breaking the regulative principles and so on. But depending on who we are, like for somebody who's more elevated, you could say less severe or less kind of, they lose their temper. That's a fall down for them. But somebody who every week he punches the wall, right, out of anger. If he doesn't punch the wall for a week, he misses 1 week. That's like, a great achievement. He didn't punch his wall, right? So, one person, they may lose their cool, lose their temper, and the other person, they may really lose and punch their wall. So, and that happens. People punch walls. It's really stupid, actually, because you hurt your hand. Really stupid. Punch something else. I don't know. Punch a punching bag or something. Still hurt your hand if you don't do it right. So we want to come to the platform where gradually our fall downs are, you could say, less severe. It's like some people's fall downs, like, they're at the temple and they leave the temple and they go out and I don't know, they just break all the regulative principles and so many different things, and then they come back. They come crawling back to Krishna. They join the temple again. There's people like that, and they keep on doing that, go back and forth. So that's a severe fall down, right? So such persons, they want to gradually make progress. They want to make progress. They want to stop doing the things that are just wrong, that constitute a fall down. And the more we could come to the platform where we fall down less and less and less and less and less and less and less, the more perfect we're becoming, or the more at least Krishna conscious we're becoming, or we're coming to a platform that the spiritual master wants us at, the platform of not falling down. And specifically, Prabhupada says that sannyas life means somebody who's a sannyasi. The idea is that they don't fall down, ever. And he said, others, okay, they may fall down. Brahmacharis, right? Yes. I mean, of course, it's not good. But sannyas life is meant to come to the platform. They're meant to come to the platform where they don't fall down. And again, that can mean so many different things. Of course, first and foremost, following the regulative principles, but other things too. Why is that? Because it says that any fault on a sannyasi's character, or apparent fault on sannyasi's character, is just like an ink spot on a white cloth, and the public makes fun of it. Because that's what public likes to do. They like to make fun of things, especially leaders. Anything they can hold on to. So it's a very important principle. And again, every one of us are leaders in our own sense, and we all have certain influence over certain people. And if you say, well, I don't have influence on anyone, I'm just a new bhakta, I'm just a new devotee, I'm only in my 20s or something. Well, when you have all these new bhaktas or bhaktins coming around, you do have influence, because they see what you do and what you don't do. And therefore there's this idea that I heard Mukunda Charna said, Bhakti Kashrana quoted it, which I thought was good. It says that if the guru pees while standing up, the disciple will pee while walking. So it's like a guru, whatever. There's so many examples you could come up with, but the point is that, like, you do something that's maybe considered wrong or off, even on the small level, or you say something that's wrong or off, and that gives the followers, or that gives the disciples, or that gives people who are looking up to you justification. Hey, well, he did that, so I could do so many things, right? Like, he was talking with a woman for quite some time, right? And there was a few people around, but that means I could embrace a woman. And I could embrace many women. And I could talk intimately with many women. I could even, I should just marry one too. So in other words, it's like, people exaggerate things. They're looking for ways to deviate. That's the thing. They're looking for ways to deviate. And that's the nature of the rascal mind. The nature of the rascal mind is looking for ways to deviate. So therefore, we have to be careful that we're setting a proper example for others. And trying our best to set a proper example. And you'd say, oh, who are you? Who am I? I didn't come to Mangalarti today. I didn't come to Guru Puja either. That's true. I was here at my subtle form, my spiritual form. They say, oh, I was there in spirit, right? Yeah, I had some yesterday and last night. So I apologize for that. But if you analyze very closely, I don't do that very often. If you analyze closely, just if you want, you could do a study. So, but yeah, it's important to set example. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Api chet sararachayo bhajate mama nanya bhak." That even if a saintly person is seen to be engaged in the most abominable activity, which Krishna doesn't go into detail what's the most abominable activity, but abominable means just like terrible, and it doesn't say just abominable activity, it says the most abominable activity. So if a saintly person is to be seen to engage in the most abominable activity, but they're considered to be, but if they're fixed in their determination, if they're fixed on being a devotee, fixed on going back to Godhead, they're considered to be saintly. So that, Kevin said there was one Swami, which I won't tell you what Swami it was. He's not a Swami anymore, but he was having a bunch of difficulties left and right, like pretty major. And Kevin was saying that this was this Swami's favorite verse, and he would quote it all the time. Apichet sadarachayo, apichet sadarachayo, right? Considered saintly. If you're just fixing, even if you're doing a bunch of abominable things. So, of course, Prabhupada mentions that in the purport. It says that it shouldn't be used as okay, hey, well, I'm a saintly person, even though I'm engaged in this and that abominable activity, but Prabhupada still says that that person's a devotee, but he says that they're not a very high devotee. if they're using the verse, or if they're not specifically using the verse, but if they're not really fixed in their determination. So that verse could help us a lot in relation to seeing others, and if we sometimes may see the faults in ourselves, it may also help us. This verse, that okay, I have some faults, but I'm fixing my determination, so Krishna still likes me. Krishna still loves me. He's still, he's not rejecting me. And that's, you could say, the beauty of Krishna consciousness, that ultimately, really, no one is rejected. So that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness, that no one is rejected. Even if they're extremely followed, they're not rejected. Of course, if they commit some Vaishnava aparad, then that postpones their spiritual advancement. It could be put on hold and all that, but ultimately no one's rejected completely. So that's the wonderful, the glory of Krishna consciousness. And just like in the Bhagavatam and the Dwarka Leela, it says that when Krishna entered Dwarka, there was all different types of personalities greeting him. You can imagine everybody wasn't just like the mayor comes to SanDiego, he's on some parade or something, and there's a few hundred people, a few thousand people or something, and everybody, you have a choice whether you could stay in, or you could watch it on the TV, or you could go out and see the mayor. But this was a serious thing. Krishna was coming, and they're all devotees, Dwarka. So everybody came out. Wasn't anybody was in their home. Everybody came out, and they're all devotees. And it says that there were prostitutes, women, prostitutes. And, the profession of a prostitute is very clear, what prostitutes do. But they were devotees. And, they're offering paddles and, looking at Krishna very lovingly, and Krishna accepted it. Interesting enough, there was, prostitutes in Dwarka. But it says that in the Bhagavatam. So it's not that Krishna was rejecting them. Of course, someone may say, oh, hey, well, whatever. I mean, it's not like justification to whatever, Well, there's prostitutes in the Bhagavatam, so I could join the mafia or something, and Krishna will, accept me or something, but engage in violent acts. But the point is, it's there. And Prabhupada mentions also one prostitute by the name of Chintamani. She was a prostitute in Kolkata, and a few hundred years ago. She's gone now. And with her money that she got, she built a nice temple in Kolkata. And I went there, actually. One devotee brought me there, Agabid. And a very beautiful temple. It's a Krishna temple. And you go, and she decorated like these little mirrors, very small little mirrors all over the walls, and Krishna temple. And Prabhupada, in a few conversations, he appreciated her. He praised her. So no one's rejected ultimately. And material designations, here it says Achyuta Gotra. So when one becomes a devotee, they become part of Krishna's family. And they're no longer should be considered caste or creed or nationality or anything like that. So in other words, we have to get away from seeing devotees on the bodily platform. Old, crippled, intelligent, not intelligent, strong, not strong, all these different things. Because if we get too absorbed in that, we'll just make offenses. oh, this is a stupid Vaishnav. Oh, is there such a thing as a stupid Vaishnav? No. Or this is a Shudra Vaishnav, right? Or this is a, these are all mundane considerations. This is an old, crippled Vaishnav or something. No, you don't think like that. Or this is a young, naive, stupid Vaishnav, because they have no experience, or stupid Bhakta or something. Like I heard people say that, oh, Bhakta means stupid. But, to think, and also children, sometimes people, they think children, they're like, I don't know, people don't really respect them or something. Like they're like little animals or something, I don't know. People think, but you also respect little Vaishnav children too, everyone. Women, children. Yeah, also this is a female Vaishnav. Now, Vaishnavi. Now, of course, we all have our designations socially and this and that, but ultimately we are spirit souls, and ultimately we are servants of Krishna. So to rise beyond that's very important. And then lastly, Prabhupada quotes that verse, those who think the deity in the temple of wood or stone, the spiritual master is ordinary man, Vaishnav, the scene of Vaishnav material designation, and the Charnamrita, or the Ganges water, is ordinary water, is a resident of hell. So, there are people who clearly think that, the deity is stone, and Charnamrita is ordinary water, and so on. And we have to be careful that we don't become like those people. Because it's not guaranteed that we won't become like those people. There are many devotees who become like those people. Just like this devotee, he painted this nice picture of Krishna with Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj right here, and it has the different relationships you have with Krishna. His name is Molidar. Apparently lives in Encinitas, but he stopped being a devotee. And you could say in many ways just the idea of not being a devotee anymore, it means you really don't have faith in the deity or the spiritual master, or you think it's ordinary, generally speaking. The proof is that you're not engaging it. That's how you know you don't have any faith. And this is what it's talking about, a faithless person, resident of hell. So he was a nice painter, and then he lost his faith, and he started painting he started painting women and men, and kind of nothing but what people want, romantic, whatever. So he became in all practically ways, he just became a faithless person. So it's not guaranteed that, okay, we have faith now, but faith has to be cultivated, and faith has to be watered. The seed of faith has to be watered continuously every day. And it has to be protected, because the material world is designed in such a way as that Maya wants so much to break our faith. Maya wants nothing more. How do you say it? Maya wants. Maya is very interested in breaking our faith, intensely interested in breaking our faith, and that faith could be broken by whatever, weak sadhana, our Vaishnavas. We're not getting along with Vaishnavas. We're seeing Vaishnavas materially, material desires. So many different things could just erode our faith, which is the most important thing, actually. Some of you, what is this, like Christianity, or modern Christianity, a bunch of faith. But in the Bhagavatam it says that, in the 11th canto it says that the highest devotee has the strongest faith, and the lowest devotee has the weakest faith, and the middle devotee has the mediocre faith, or strong, but So it is important. And so if somehow or other we could just continue to have faith that the spiritual master is not an ordinary person, Krishna's here, it's not a form of stone and wood and all these charnamrita is not ordinary, then we're in a good situation. We're not residents of hell. We are residents of, you could say, the spiritual world, or at least getting closer to being residents of the spiritual world. Yeah, so does anybody have any questions or comments?
I have a question. So you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned it in the purport, but you brought up this verse. No, it wasn't mentioned in the purport, sorry. The most abominable activity. Yeah. And you were saying, well, the verse says that they are to be considered saintly if their determination is fixed, which means, as you said, they are determined to go back to Godhead or things like that. I was reading last night.
That's good you're reading.
Thanks. It is good. And in the purport it says, a Vaishnava is never bewildered by the influence of the external energy because he is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So Prabhupada says in the purport, which kind of threw me off. Now I was thinking, like last week we were discussing, when Mukunda gave class, I forget exactly what I asked, but one thing that you had said, I had mentioned how Prabhupada says, if you chant 16 rounds every day and follow regulative principles, you're sure to go back to Godhead.
Yeah.
But then you're saying, well, what does it mean to chant 16 rounds? That means like you're very attentively chanting 16 rounds. And so is it, when it says a Vaishnava is never bewildered, or does that mean like an ordinary, anyway, a Vaishnava on any platform, or does that?
No, it's
obviously it doesn't mean that, because Vaishnavas are always
advanced Vaishnava, yeah, pure Vaishnava. Because to the level you take shelter, depending on the level in which you take shelter of the spiritual energy or of the internal energy, then to that level you won't be bewildered. But Prabhupada says in the Apichet Saracha Yobajitema Mananyabak, or I think it's Devi Hesha Gunamayima Mayatratya, those, it's very difficult to overcome the influence of the material energy, but those who surrender to me could easily cross beyond it. He says that a transcendentalist fully engaged in the devotional service of the Lord due to past material connections sometimes becomes ensnared by the material energy. So it's not very surprising that one becomes attracted or ensnared by the material energy. It's actually surprising if you don't. Just like even in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, he's Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Krishna, and the most ecstatic, the most merciful form of Krishna, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there was one servant of his traveling with him as an assistant, and he got bewildered by the I think Bhattaharis, some women, gypsy women. So he became attracted, even though he's there with Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected him and said, I don't want him traveling with me anymore. And then eventually devotees gave him service. So, and in terms of chanting, there's also a case where there's a fellow named Ram, I think his name was Ram, and he used to chant Ram all the time, 24 hours a day. And he was going to see Lord Chaitanya. And when he met Lord Chaitanya just didn't give him the time of the day. He just didn't give him any time at all. Just completely shunned them. And it was explained because the reason why he was chanting was to merge into the existence of Krishna. He's impersonalist. So some may say, oh, well, many devotees in ISKCON, it's not like they're impersonalists, like they're want to merge into Krishna's form. But, what do they want? Why are they chanting? Like, what do they want? Because after all, it says the holy name is Chintamani. It means it gives you what you want, actually. And it says that if you don't, water the... actually, I heard the other day in Chaitanya Charitamrita in a purport, it said if you do not try to give the fences to the chanting of the holy name, your material desires will increase. Yeah. Like, there's a offensive platform, right? And then there's trying to get the fences. And then there's the offenseless platform. So, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita purport, Prabhupada says that if you do not come to the stage of trying to get the fences, then your material desires will increase. Which is not good. So we have to come to at least to the platform of trying to give offenses. Therefore, we say it every morning. The 10 offenses. Why? Because we're trying to give it up. So yeah. So yeah, the question is, what do we really want to go back to Godhead? I mean, do we want to stay in this world? Do we want stuff in this world? Do we want to go to the heavenly planets? And also, what is our adhikar? Right? What is our qualification? So. I think she has a...
So you were mentioning that Krishna doesn't reject us. So it means Krishna accepts us even with our faults.
That's true.
So, but also Krishna...
I'm the proof.
Yeah, we all are, right? But it's he has to have some conditions. It's like, okay, I accept you, but at the same time, in different ways. So it's not kind of like a rejection in a way, like.
Well, Krishna loves everybody, so it's not really conditional. I mean, it's unconditional. Because Krishna loves the pig, the soul in the pig's body. Krishna loves. He loves everybody. So it's unconditional. And, anybody who's surrendered to Krishna, at least to some degree, or he also, loves them. So it's, yeah, even if they're not perfect. So, Krishna doesn't expect people to be perfect right off the bat. So, perfect is... really for the spiritual world. You could become perfect in this life too, but it takes a little time. So just like Prabhupada said, okay, there's the baby, it's crawling, right, and then the baby starts to walk, and then the baby falls down because it's walking, right, and then the baby doesn't fall down less and less and less and less, and then the baby can start running, right. And then eventually the baby grows up and it could run a whole marathon or something. So it's like a... All right, one last...
You briefly touched on it, but I was thinking the points that you brought up about things, and what Prabhupada says in the purport about things we want to avoid, like seeing the deity as stone, the devotees as ordinary people, the spiritual master as just a mundane person, all these things. It's, and the other things not being fixed in devotional service. It's all symptoms of people on the Kanishta, devotees on the Kanishta Adhikari platform, and literally not, Kanishta, not fixed. And was relating to a class that kind of just brought up in my mind that I was hearing yesterday from our spiritual master. where he was discussing along the lines that, if one wants to, it was relating to this. If one wants to like take it easy in devotional service, like, okay, I'm a devotee, so this verse, like Prabhupada's saying, oh yeah, you'll go back to Godhead, you'll you'll remain a devotee, if you do these things. But you just have to do these things, and it's okay, even if you're committing sinful things or you're doing this or that. But yeah, you may go back to Godhead, but it may be like, 10 lifetimes, or you may suffer a lot more. But he was making he was coming to the point that we have to strive to actually be serious in devotional service and not just take it easy, not like be comfortable, and just take it at my own pace, and but we have to try and surrender more and more and more every day, until the point where we're, and he was making the point particularly off the Kanishta platform, so we're like,
Yeah, that's the thing. Krishna expects more and more and more of us.
Yeah.
And then if we don't give it to him, he's gonna make sure we give it to him.
Yeah.
He's gonna kick us in the pants.
Yeah.
Kick us in the dhoti.
Yeah. And he was finalizing with that we have to be, in some way or other, we have to engage in preaching, because it's the easiest way to lift us off the platform of being not fixed, And so I thought that related to the purport, where, taking it easy, but you'll still go back to Godhead, or being very serious and, endeavoring to become free from offenses. And then you'll make much more rapid advancement.
Sounds good. All right, Jai, thank you. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.